Hello, Craptacklers. You are now flipping over to the B-side.
Hello and welcome to Cinema Craptacklers Presents B-Sides, where we dig through the streaming pile of crap that the internet has to offer to find that rare gem. Don't forget to like and rate us wherever you listen to us, because it really helps get the Craptacklers word out there. This is Dave, and with me are my uncrappy co-hosts,
Tara.
And Adam. We're genre-bending our way all the way to Mars in this rom-com sci-fi that proves even in a gravity-free environment, opposites attract. Or, in space, no one can hear you cream! It's Moonshot.
God.
It's Moonshot.
God. Dave, did you write that? I don't even know. Okay.
Do you want to do it one more time, Adam, without it?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
I think,
No.
we got it.
It's
Got
in.
it.
It's
I
in.
only do one take.
Okay. Here's how IMDB describes this movie. This romantic comedy with a sci-fi twist is set in a future where Mars is terraformed and colonized by the best humanity has to offer. When two very different college students, Walt, played by Cole Sprouse, the free-spirited but not smart cutie who flies by the seat of his pants, and Sophie, played by Lana Condor, my life is mapped out millionaire meet. It's hate at first sight. But both have significant others on Mars. So when Sophie buys herself a ticket to the Red Planet, Walt is inspired to sneak on a stowaway. Oh, sneak on as a stowaway. This is going great. Once on board, because of reasons, they wind up joining forces to make it to Mars without being discovered. And in the process, they discover each other. It's a romantic comedy. Of course they do.
This, I'm going to say this. When I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, this looks like cute and fun. And when I started it, I was a little afraid of, like, what if this is just cute and fun and a delightful little rom-com romp in space? And then I got into it, and I was like, this is maybe a little painful. And I will say one thing about it. The scenes, like, it went by fast, at least.
Yes, it did. It was not a long movie.
Yes.
It was not a long movie. Let me, I wanted to bring up my notes. So Walt is like kind of this guy who's desperate to go to Mars because he wants to find his place in the universe and he doesn't know where he belongs. Mm-hmm. And they live on Earth, which is kind of a trash planet, but like the nicest version of a trash planet I've ever seen. Because it looks like
it was like space age, but with dirty dumpsters, like with overflowing dumpsters.
That was how they showed there was a lot of trash. It was they showed like 4 or 5 trash cans on a college campus that were overflowing with trash, and I'm like, yeah, that's every college campus.
That's just college. That's
I don't know what you're talking about.
And meanwhile, the rest of the place feels very spacious. Like everyone has, excuse me, morning burp. Everyone has these amazing rooms. And he works in a coffee shop where there's a robot as his boss. And the coffee shop, everything looked like it was at a pottery barn. There was like no world-ending thing. And I think that's because this is a rom-com. And they were trying to like not bring you down with miserable garbage and that we're destroying the world, but instead was really like, oh, it's a bad place, but let's get through this and
they're surviving and thriving, Dave, is I think the term you're looking for.
yes. And so everyone, it seems like everyone goes to Mars. It's a little bit of a what do you call economic divide? Like the poor people are left on Earth and all the rich smart people go to Mars, but they don't really get into that either.
Well,
because again,
they do a little, like not like the only I feel like classist thing is that this girl Sophie can pay for a ticket which costs $1 million and she just like buys it instantaneously, right?
Yes.
And then she's like, going to Mars, and he's like, what the hell? And then like there's like the Elon Musk-ish character played by Zach Braff, who's like the guy who like terraformed Mars and I guess lives on Mars permanently.
Sure.
I
guess.
I mean, if I were Zach Braff, I would permanently live on Mars too. Actually, I'm a huge Zach Braff fan, so I don't know why I said it like that.
You know, if we're going to talk about Zach Braff for a second, when did he turn into Ray Romano? Because in this movie,
right?
He turned into Ray Romano.
Yeah.
I was like, is this young Ray Romano or is this old Zach Braff? Like, I can't tell the difference.
Hey, you know, I thought Zach Braff was fine in this movie. I thought he did exactly what he was supposed to do. He was charming when it called for it, funny when it called for it. He was my favorite part of the movie, honestly, even though he's only in it very briefly.
I agree with that, and I would say it was the least Zach Braffy's performance I've ever seen him do.
Yes.
True. It was pretty
I would agree
grounded.
with that.
Yeah.
There was only one
Yeah.
or two like weird mouth, like his like little vocal thing he does. He only did that like
Yes.
once, and I was like, okay, fine.
Good for you, Zach Braff. You're growing. You're doing it, buddy. We've
this
talked
what
about it
this
for a long time, Zach, me and you, and I'm proud of you. I just wanted to let you know Adam's proud of you. I went into this movie not knowing what to expect because when Dave suggested it, this wasn't Dave Humphrey's pick, everybody.
Oh yeah, this was Dave. Dave did this.
Dave
is
did
Dave's
this.
fault.
What?
Remember, when Adam brings you movies, he brings you movies like Pig and Velocipaster.
Okay, all right.
But so with Dave, I was like, oh, a rom-com. That's cool. We haven't really done like a true rom-com on the show before.
Right.
And then I watched this
Yeah.
movie. I did not get rom-com out of this film.
Really?
I got a Disney idea of what a rom-com
Yes.
is. It's
Yes.
like they could not commit to the sexuality I think that needs to exist in a rom-com, the chemistry that needs to exist
Yep.
between the leads in a rom-com, even the humor in and of itself had nothing to do with like wit or banter. There was no Taming of the Shrew style back and forth between the two or
Yeah.
Much Ado About Nothing back and forth between the female and male leads. It was very much like, oh, I can't even think of a joke in this movie, but it was very like, I'm gonna call it Disney-fied, where it's just like loud joys, over the top exaggerated performance.
Well-
And I'm going, well, how is this a rom-com? Is this like a Disney rom-com? I don't
Well, one of my notes about halfway into it was there's not much rom or com in this, is there?
Nicely done.
And-
Nicely done.
Thank you. And I agree with you. It is like a Disney-fied rom-com, and I will go one step further and say this felt like it had all the elements of what a rom-com. They hit all the beats of a rom-com without ever hitting the heart of a rom-com. So it felt like an outline of a rom-com where it's like, this is the moment where they reveal something about each other to each other. This is the moment where he notices that she has a body, and there's a scene where they go for a spacewalk. And
Which was, by the way, that was terrifying. If that was
Yeah,
like
it
it
was.
was.
I was like, I don't blame her for being fucking scared. Like that is awful.
Right, they set it up like, oh, it's just it's like a self-guided spacewalk. So my mental picture was they're going to like get on like those magnet boots and they're going to
Yeah.
walk on the outside and they're going to see
Yeah.
the planet come. I'm like, oh, it's going to be super cute. To surmise this spacewalk, they have to do a 10-foot leap out into
That's right.
space
Yeah.
to grab
Without a tether.
Without a
Without
tether.
a tether.
To grab onto this platform, which then rips them about 500 yards away from the spaceship on a track doing like 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
At which point they're slammed to a halt and then they just kind of let go and float up. I'm like, that is terrifying. Why would you? How is this romantic?
That's suicide in space.
Yeah, yes, that's a good way to put it.
So as soon as it's over, they're back in the decompression unit, and she's taking off her shirt and
Her space
fixes
suit.
her hair.
Her
Space
space
suit.
suit.
Space
Dave.
I meant like uniform, because she went down to like the Ripley
Yes.
outfit of like
Sports bra.
a sports bra, and he turns and sees her, and he's like, ooh, and then he turns back around, takes off his pants, like standing, bends over, pulls his pants down. She turns around and looks at him, and she's like, ooh, as he's in his what are they called, boxer briefs. And I was like, is there any unsexier look for a man than bent over, pulling his legs out of his pants?
Right.
I mean, it's like she should have turned around and been like, ugh.
Well, if this movie was even remotely based in reality, it would be, because his underwear would be covered in feces and piss from the terrifying spacewalk that just occurred. But yeah, I actually agree with you, Dave, because like he's wearing he's not in a bad shape, but the kid's not.
No.
He's not.
No, he's
but
got a good butt.
But he's not built. So he's wearing like a baggy t-shirt
Yeah.
and then boxer
Yeah.
briefs. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not even saying that the
Yeah.
butt is not an attractive part on the man. Of course it is. But I also feel like there's a reason that the glory shot for like dudes for like
It's a
beauty
chest. It's
shots
like a
is a
chest.
chest. It's a chest
Yeah.
or it's
Yes,
an abs. Or
Yeah.
even
Yes.
like a muscular back. It's
Yeah.
never like a fully covered butt in red boxer briefs. and a baggy tee. You know, it's like
And a
like he's
baggy-
embarrassed to go into the ocean without his shirt on. You know, like that's.
I can actually sympathize on that.
Oh no, I
Like,
can
okay.
too. But we're not romantic leads in a romantic comedy.
That's a good point. Good point.
Okay, so I think it's time for me to jump in.
Here we go.
because I know that you guys I've been a little quiet because
Yes, you have.
because I feel like we have some conflicting views.
Ooh,
What?
Really?
About this movie. Okay, so first of all, I want you to know I didn't watch a trailer. I had no idea what we were going. I didn't know. I thought this was just like a weird sci-fi thing, okay? So it starts out, and one of my first notes is this what Gen Z looks like? Because,
We're, yes.
because there's an unkemptness about Gen Z, and
Hmm.
also, what color was his hair? Was
I don't
But
know.
Okay,
blonde?
now
Was it red?
was it bronze?
Was it bronze? And then I was
Mm.
like, is this like a look for the film? Oh, I don't. Anyways.
And his hair was kind of very thick and helmety. It
Yes.
was like, and it didn't seem like he had like just thick hair. It just seemed like they not even sprayed. They sculpted his hair on his head.
I did.
Like some kind of weird action figure.
Yeah.
And but the one thing I did know, I was looking up, what is it, Sprouse, did you say?
Yes.
I was
yes.
looking up his IMDb because
I did the same thing.
and he's in the Archie show on the CW. And I was like, oh, all their hair is weird on the Archie show and the CW.
I don't even know what that show is. What is that show?
Riverdale.
Oh,
Riverdale.
Riverdale. Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Man,
I-
Dave, you
I-
just got
I'm a-
old. The Archie show.
I am an OG. Yeah, I'm talking about All in the Family.
Okay, all right.
If
Okay.
we're gonna talk about his hair, can I just say real quick, both of the leads are attractive in their own right,
Sure.
but they are both punching way above their weight class with their significant others, like
Yeah.
big time. I'm sitting there going, like, because they're both okay. So the dude, his name is Walt. He's supposed to be the quirky, cute kid, right?
Yeah.
But at the same
Yeah.
time, Tara and Dave are right. Like, they're doing this thing where they're trying to sculpt him. Like, they're trying to make him look more attractive than they're trying to sculpt him, I guess is the best way to put it. Like, they're not
Yeah.
accentuating his features. They're trying to heighten them. And
Uh,
he
oddly
randomly...
eno-
Oh, go ahead.
Oddly enough, I just want to say it was almost like they were trying to make him look like Zach Braff from Scrubs from
Oh,
Scrubs.
that's a good
Interesting.
that's a good pull. But so
Interesting.
Walt is rolling around and he's like the awkward weird kid who likes to talk about Mars, and the girl he runs into, who is just casually hanging out at a party,
Yeah, she's
is
sitting on steps.
stunning. Just
Stunning.
like not even trying to be stunning.
Just
and
beautiful.
like
Yeah.
not overly made up, and he looks like he's been made up and she's just naturally walked out of bed. Same goes for
Yeah.
Lana Condor is her name, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
So Lana
Sophie
is
is her character name.
Thank you. So let's say Sophie then. Sophie is like the bookish one, and she's a very cute girl, but she's also like with this like mixed race ab having like brilliant Mars scientists, and I'm going, both of these people are just not way out of their league. They're like, I
Yeah.
understand why they travel to Mars to keep these people, because they're not going to do this well again on Earth, in my
I would
personal
disagree.
opinion.
I think she's got her body be rocking. Okay. So
Oh
I
yeah,
was
I'm
like,
not saying.
no,
I'm not saying
I was
not.
like, that guy on Mars was like, I know what I have. I know what's coming up here, buddy. So all things aside, I
Right.
did like, okay. So I just want to go back to
sorry, yeah,
So
sorry,
go back to
sorry.
how
So-
much you love this movie and you were laughing on the couch.
So I was like, the first 10 minutes of this movie, I'm very conflicted. I'm like, what is this? Like what is this kid? I'm kind of oddly being a little charmed by him, but at the same time very annoyed. Like, what is this?
Yes.
So I had to pause and look up, like, who is this person? Because I knew the name. And so he was on all these Disney shows, right? Like The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody and stuff like that, which obviously were not in my generation. I didn't watch these shows, so I don't know who these people are.
He was
And then
also
it's great.
the kid in Big Daddy.
Was he?
Oh.
Well,
Yep.
he's a twin. So he's a twin.
He was one of the kid, the
Oh.
kid in Big Daddy. He was that.
God.
Sorry, go ahead.
Anyways, and then Greg Berlanti is like one of the producers on this, and he does like lots of he does a lot of comedy. a
He
lot of,
owns the CW, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, like he's a big like within this world, and so I look him up, and I was like, okay, so this kid comes back from like the Disney World, the overacting, and I was like, but he's tamping it down enough where I have started to root for him. Okay, and he's
Yeah.
he's a little too much, but I feel like I buy it. And the scene he has with that girl Jenny, with the girl that is like the casually beautiful girl, when they're talking and they're looking out. Guys, I bought it. I bought in. I was hook, line, and sinker, and I was like, this is like this love story. I'm in it, and I don't have any reason to be. And I don't know if in my life I'm too emotionally open right now. But then I was like, oh no, I like this movie.
You don't have to be ashamed for liking the movie.
Were you mad at yourself for liking it?
I got madder because I kept liking it more, and then I was like, then I got mad because I was like, okay, so then she buys her ticket to the space shuttle, right? And he's going to be a stowaway, and so they set up immediately that like she's like, okay, this is as far as you can go, and he's like, oh, but you can tell him I'm your family, and I can take you all the way to the gate, and I'm like, wait. So we have to drop people off at the airport currently, but in the future,
Yes.
I can take you to a space shuttle all the way to the gate. Like there was a lot of leaps that I was like, okay, and yet I was still like, but I want to see if he's gonna get together with Jenny, and I hate to say it, you guys. The rom-com elements, I was like, oh, this is cute. And there was a lot of like, again, the script had a lot of problems that they then later justified. Like, so the whole him sneaking through the space shuttle and becoming a stowaway, they do later explain and justify. And I was
Through
like, okay,
social media.
through social media. And now again, did I think the justification was like great? No, but I bought it, right? At
I
least
bought
it
it
was
too.
explained.
I bought it too.
That's fine.
It was explained. I bought it.
And I liked it.
Right. And there was a lot of like, I did a couple because I was like, something unique will only exist once. Like there was a lot of emotionally charged lines that I thought were delivered well and that further pulled me in. Oh no. Oh no.
So Tara, we are not going to rom-com shame you. We're not going to do that. Okay. I'm not.
Okay.
I love a good rom-com.
Yes. But this
a good
wasn't
one.
a good one.
Right,
I
that's
loved
just it. See, that's just it. Like, Mandy and I rewatched 2 Weeks Notice the other day with Sandra Bullock and Hugh Grant. And I'm like,
Right.
that's a fun rom-com. I have no problem with that rom-com. The issue I had with this movie is one word. His name is Walt, and that is my problem with this movie. So the whole premise, whole premise behind the movie is Walt wants to go to Mars,
right,
to explore. I guess he wants to discover himself, and he feels like he'll do that through exploration. That's Walt's whole motivation, right? He does zero to attain that goal. He submitted 37 applications to be on the Mars team because, like, they send, for lack of a better term, like for into space like every 6 months.
But he changed his major. Like that's what he was in college for.
He was an idiot. Like he didn't study. He didn't try and attain new skills. He didn't seek outside aid. He did absolutely zero to
But
attain.
He's charming.
But he's not that charming.
Wait. I just want to say, you replace Mars with Job, and I right away connect with Walt because Walt is me.
But see, that's
as defined by Adam.
But see, that's
Thank you, Adam. Now I'm good. Thanks for shaming me, Adam.
All right, look, go put on your red boxer briefs. Turn around. That's the only way you're gonna be worth anything. Look, my point is this: I want to root for Walt, but I don't see Walt doing anything to earn that root. There's nothing where he's actually trying to attain his goal other than wanting it. And don't get, I love the want. I love him wanting something that's out of his reach. I love that. Her name is Sophie in the movie. Sophie is a millionaire, and she wants to go to Mars, so she and she buys the ticket. And so he is forced to sneak onto the rocket in one of the worst Keystone Cop style, sequences of, stealth that have ever existed. But I'm sitting there going like, I don't want you to succeed, dude, because you haven't really tried. Like, yes, he says, I've worked a bunch of jobs so I could stay in school. I'm like, great. Have you studied, like, at all?
Yeah.
Because the people
Yeah.
going to Mars, they're like, they know about terraforming.
Yeah.
They know about how to create bacteria that, causes trash to eat itself. Like,
Yeah.
they're really intelligent people. And from the word go, he's like, nope, I'm a doofus. And that's the total amount of effort he puts into be worthy to go to Mars.
Adam, all your points are salient, and I agree with them. And yet, I was still rooting for him. And I don't
Why?
know
Tell me why.
I can't tell you, okay? You guys, I'm telling you, the reason why Dave like texted us on like Friday. He's like, guys, we don't have to watch this movie. And I was like, I already watched it. And we're gonna watch this movie. And I've been wrestling with this because I'm mad at myself. After 15 minutes, I was like, I shouldn't like this. There's nothing about this movie that is good. And I cannot stop watching it, and it's making me feel so good.
But,
and
okay, and here's
I
the thing.
don't know.
Again,
Well,
Tara, I'm not shaming you. There's
I don't.
no shame.
You can shame me.
No,
I shame myself.
There's no shame. There is no shame here. I'm just trying to figure out what aspect of it you liked, because as a comedian, you can't tell me the jokes are good.
No,
The jokes are not
no.
good.
And his character was annoying. At the same time, he was also like, I just felt like there was something pure about his wants and needs and attention that was like, kind of when you're a dum-dum, I was like, I can't be mad at you because...
Oh, I see what it is, Adam.
Oh, what?
She's a softie for the dum-dum.
How dare you?
I mean, she is friends with us. That's fair. She does.
You know what?
Good point.
It's more than a soft spot, guys. It's more than a soft. It is a character flaw.
It is not a soft spot. It is a divot. It is a straight up divot.
It's a big divot. It's a big divot. Something I should work on in therapy. Anyways, I looked at my notes because I don't have a lot of notes. Do you know why? Because after a certain point, I was so engaged.
Hey there, we'll be right back. And now, back to the show.
And then they put a cat in space. There was a cat there. There was a cat.
I knew, by the way, people at home, the second they showed that a cat had stowed away I'm like, oh, well, Tara's gonna give this a super crap-craptaculous. Like, there's nothing we can do. Like, she's...
I just want you to know the last note I wrote myself is, ugh, I'm mad how much I liked this movie.
Adam, you bring up a good point that we need to develop a genre is rom-coms for cat ladies.
No, Dave, that's just called rom-coms. Like, there's no
That's a good point.
genre.
That's a good point.
That's exactly what they're
now
made
I'm thinking,
for.
If When Harry Met Sally had more cat in it, it would be a much better movie.
What do you mean much better? It's the number one, like, okay. Also, I will, like, just to preface this because we haven't talked about it, I like rom-coms, but I'm not like a person who's like, oh my god, I like any rom-com J-Lo has made, like, sorry.
Yeah, there's
like,
some rough ones, yeah.
Like, I love her, I love Matthew McConaughey, I love, but it's like, the rom-coms that are done well are the ones that it's like, stick with me, right? When Harry Met Sally, Notting Hill, like, those are ones that I was like, I could watch any day of the week and be like, perfectly satisfied with the movie experience. I don't feel like I could watch this one again, but I don't, like, there's just something that just hits the right emotional heartstrings, and somehow this movie with people that I don't really even enjoy, that I didn't love watching, but that was like interesting to me also, that I was like, are we like, this also forced me to ask a question. It's like, is this one generation younger to a point where I have to actually be like, put my own reservations aside and be like, is storytelling changing enough where I'm not seeing something? And that maybe I should see something in this.
Okay, so here's what I will say, and I hear you, Tara, I hear you. I think one of the things that great rom-coms have that this one lacked was the leads being in a dire place.
Agree.
Like in an emotionally stagnant or in a emotionally dangerous place. You know, like Harry Met Sally is a great example of like whenever Harry and Sally re-meet time and time again, they're in like emotional lows. You know what I mean? They're coming out of these like breakups or they're on crazy highs where they just got engaged, like all these things. But never at any point in this movie like, for instance, the kid Walt, like, his dream is to go to Mars. And so he failed at getting into the Mars program so he could afford to go to Mars. And at no point, because right from the word go, he's talking about sneaking on board. So I was never worried about him actually getting to Mars. You know what I mean? I'm sitting there going, oh,
Yeah.
he's going to do it. And I never felt like he was alone. He was lonely. Like, he didn't need anyone, so to speak. Like, he was not, he was never in a moment where he was like, I'm so alone. No one gets me. I didn't get that
Really?
moment.
Yeah.
I felt like from the top, I felt like that guy was very much like just desperate for connection.
Oh yeah, he's desperate. But I don't
I meant for
think that.
connection, like less so much. Like I felt like the Mars, but I felt like the Mars thing was really much just like it's supposed to be. It's really just like a false flag of like, no, this kid he's so desperate to connect with anybody that like he's instead focusing on this whole Mars thing.
Fair, okay, and that's interesting too because he has like his best friend's a robot type of situation.
Who's his boss? His robot boss.
Yeah.
Well, can I just say real quick? The robot doesn't like him. Sophie doesn't like him.
Yeah, no one does.
Yeah.
No one really likes this guy.
Right.
I did.
And
I know. But again, and now you go to Sophie, and Sophie's a attractive, wealthy woman who's super intelligent. So it's hard to feel bad for her. So you've got Sophie, this beautiful, intelligent, wealthy girl, and then you have Walt, the kid who's not really trying and isn't getting what he wants, who's also moderately attractive, and I'm supposed to be like, oh, this is them at their darkest hour? And I want to root for them to succeed? Like, I never felt that.
That's interesting. Okay, now, Adam, I hear you. I see you. I acknowledge you.
Witness me!
I think
oh God.
I think it's a little, like, I felt like I understood. Which I felt like came too late. But once they, introduced what her family situation was, which was another weird thing at the beginning where I was like, wait, why is she such good friends with her boyfriend's mom? That's so
that was weird. That was weird.
But then they justify it, okay? So fine. But I think it was a little less about, like, Walt always felt desperate to me. She felt a little desperate. Like, she felt like she was getting there. I actually feel like what was missing is the two of them didn't really have enough chemistry. So sort of halfway through the movie, what I was hoping would happen is like that they would have a moment where they were going to connect, but they don't. And then they get up there and that they find that the people they went up there for, obviously weren't the right ones, but neither were they. But now they're friends. I don't know. I just felt like what was missing for me was the like chemistry between the two of them.
Maybe it should have been a plu-com, platonic comedy.
I would have gone for that.
Yeah, I think it also speaks to Tara what were you saying about, like, not the red herring of the fact that the guy wants Mars, but what he actually wants is connection. Because you also have the girl who wants the boy when actually she doesn't want the boy. She wants self-fulfillment, I guess, like to be independent and actual. That's the other thing. Like, okay, so she is a very intelligent college student who's doing her thesis on bacteria that will eat trash, which is important because, there's 4 overflowing trash cans on her college campus, and that will not stand. So what she does is she kind of puts it all aside to go chase the boy to Mars, is how it kind of feels.
Yes.
But she never actually does that because the whole time she's still like, well, I'm going to work on my thesis, and I'm still working on my thesis, and I'm still doing my thing. And then she gets there, and I don't care if I spoil this.
You're gonna ruin it.
I'm gonna ruin the movie. She's like, oh, you don't want me to work on my thesis. You just want me to be for lack of a better term, like a kept woman. Like, you're gonna give me a job. Yeah. I'm gonna live with your family. And you're like, F this. I'm going back to Earth where I can live off of your family's money while I pursue my dreams. And I never felt, for lack of a better term, bad for her. Like, I never was rooting for her in that sense.
Adam, I would agree with that a little bit because obviously it's Walt's story, and when he gets on, I also thought Sophie was going to be a minor character. I thought she was going to be I did not see.
Really?
I really didn't.
Really?
Because
Oh well, she didn't see the trailer.
Well,
I didn't see the trailer.
I didn't see the trailer either. But why did you think Sophie was going to be a minor character? I'm curious.
Because they didn't connect. He was using, basically, the pattern that they set up is he's like using everybody to get what he wants, essentially.
Right.
Then
Yep.
he meets this girl and he finds that, like, oh, the thing on Mars that I want is not just Mars, it's this girl. So I'm going to do anything to get to Mars to get to this girl. And so, and maybe, again, just because I thought there was going to be like two storylines, right? Where he'd get on the ship, she would be annoyed that he like used her or whatever, and she would get on the ship and they would because they didn't have a connection. Like, it didn't even have a hint at a connection. It was more just like, she didn't, like, I wanted a flash of like when he comes in and he breaks that little cube or that little orb thing, that there to be just like a moment of like, oh. And there wasn't. It was just like, I fucking hate you. And he's like, sorry. And then leaves. And then when they like, even at the like space shuttle, it's like, you know, he's begging you to do this thing that's gonna like could get you arrested, and you're just like, oh, fine. And it's like, just show me a little of like why you made that choice. And I just didn't see it.
Speaking of getting arrested, can we just talk about her name is Jenny, right?
Yeah.
The girl that he followed into space.
Yeah.
Girl is stone cold. Like,
Yep.
Okay, so
Yep.
she is flirting with Walt. So they meet the night before she goes to Mars. Fine,
Mm-hmm.
she goes to Mars. Then she starts texting with him all the time, every day, and they're like supposedly building up a real chemistry and a relationship type of thing. So he's like, I gotta get to Mars. I gotta go see Jenny in Mars because I haven't heard from her for 3 days. Right. At which point, he gets on a shuttle. He starts flying to Mars. He gets a message from her that's like, I don't remember. She made up the reason she said that she hadn't talked to him for 3 days is because there was a cat that stowed aboard.
Yeah, she got the cat.
And I've been dealing with this cat. And wait a minute, you're coming to Mars? And then, like, it goes radio silent because he can't talk to her. So he gets to Mars. They arrest him immediately.
Yeah.
Going to jail forever type of situation.
Yeah.
They takes him to the brig, stuffs him in a room, and then she walks in. And you're like, oh, is she about to, like, pull some rom-com, like...
Yes, that's what I wanted!
Like some rom-com style, like, look, I mean, maybe this won't work, but I really appreciate what you did, or let me get you a trip back, and we'll wash everything away. No, he goes, how'd you get in here? She goes, oh, I know a guy. And this, like, really swarthy dude's like, you got 3 minutes, sweet cheeks.
Yeah.
And he's like, who's that? Oh, that's my new boyfriend. Awkward. And then she leaves. Like, that's the whole...
She doesn't just leave. She goes, also, oh, here's the cat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. When you go back to jail, can you take the cat with you?
Yeah, the cat has to go back to Earth, too. They don't want it here, so could you just take this?
So, peace. And then that was it. Like, that was the entirety of her.
Yeah.
Like, she was on set for 2 days. You know what I mean? It was romantic-y scene prior to her leaving, and then ice cold bitch on Mars.
Yeah.
There was one of the things with rom-coms in general is that there are the people who are wrong for your leads. Like they're falling for the wrong people. And I think they kind of hit that with Walt and Jenny, and she's like the motivating force for him to want to go to space. But the thing that bothered me was Sophie and her boyfriend seemed absolutely like every time they talked, he seemed completely uninterested in her.
Yeah.
He was always distracted. He was like, I guess it was at first
he was doing science, Dave.
He was sciencing.
Busy sciencing. And it was really weird to me because the first time they're talking to each other, his brother, like, they start wrestling with each other.
Yes.
On the call. And I was like, oh, maybe he's gay and that's going to be a reveal.
I also thought too, because I didn't know it was his brother. I thought it was his roommate.
Exactly. I thought the same thing.
Mom and dad came.
Yes.
And they're like, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, what is the history of this relationship?
That's what I said.
The whole family loves her, except for the person who probably should love her the most.
Right.
And so I thought when she got to Mars, he'd be like, oh, you know what? Maybe this doesn't work out for us. Yeah. But no, he's actually a little more vile in the fact that he wants to have her as a kept woman. And
he wanted to give her a job, you guys. He wanted to just, like, basically...
But under his thumb.
Right. Well, it was under his thumb. First of all, under his eye. And,
May the Lord open.
Under his
I
abs.
guess the other thing... also, okay, so going back to this rom-com element is the scene with Jenny and Walt where they have this magic, like basically sets up as like, oh, it's our one night, was so compelling, and I believed it, and she really did like him, and like that was a really, I thought, beautiful and romantic scene, and that's when I bought into this movie. So that's why I was like, if you give me that kind of connection, and then you introduce this Sophie person who just doesn't like him at all, that's why I was like, I don't understand what like, I need more of a spark between Sophie and Walt, and them to fight it, and them to fight it the whole time. But they weren't fighting it. They were just like, I need you, and she's like, I hate you. And it's like, oh, cool. Wait a second. I guess the people we were going after we don't like. Do we like each other?
Well,
maybe.
This is a romantic comedy that says the person you're stuck with is the one you're meant to be.
So you know what? Just settle. Just
settle, everybody. That's the message of this movie is settle. I feel like I needed both of the people, Jenny and then Calvin, the two people that were originally with our leads, who eventually, I needed them to be worse people.
Also,
I needed them to be worse people because Jenny, I was joking when I said that she was a stone cold bitch. She really wasn't. She had met this dude for 8 hours, then flown to Mars, had nothing but a text and then met somebody else and moved on. Yeah. Completely understandable. Because also, something that I forgot to mention, they were talking for 30 days. Then he got on a rocket, which took another month, during which they did not talk at all, to get to Mars. So it's completely feasible in that time that this beautiful, charming, intelligent woman finds somebody else on Mars. Yeah. Also, Calvin, Calvin, I agree with you in that he has kind of a rudimentary or even a slightly misinformed view of how he should be treating her in terms of like, here's a job, here's my family's, like, yes, but he's not a bad person. If you had simply said, if at any point Jenny her name is not Jenny, her name is Sophie. If at any point Sophie had been like, hey babe, I don't think I want to work here, he probably would have been like, let's sit down and talk about it. You know,
that too.
Well, I thought they did have that conversation because she was like, I don't know if it's right for me, and he was like, it's totally right for you.
Well, sure,
he did say something very terrible, like, you don't even have to finish your thesis now. And I was like, oh,
yes, exactly.
Yes,
the thesis that could save the planet.
Yeah. By the way, the number one thing why isn't everybody chasing her for this information if she knows how to get algae to eat trash?
Yes,
right.
But here's the thing. Yes, I agree with you. They had that one moment where he was like, this is the perfect job. This is a perfect setup, and she was like, no, it's not, and you're holding me back. I'm out of here. Like, there was no conversation. I'm like, wait a minute. You've been with this dude for 10 years, and that is the total amount of conversation that you're going to have about the future of your relationship? Like,
that was another thing that confused me about the relationship is, were they together for 10 years? Was it 1 year? Was it like, have they been together since kindergarten?
They've been together since 14 years old, because that's when her parents died. And now she's in her 20s, I guess. Yeah. And so like 10 years. And so I'm going, Mandy and I could talk to each other about anything. We won't necessarily like what the other person has to say, and it won't necessarily be an amenable conversation, but we can have conversations. So it's staggering to me. Like, it was a very juvenile, like, reason for the whole thing to just stop. She's like, well, I want this, and I don't think you'll let me do it. I'm flying back to Mars with the trash, the cat, and that homely idiot who works at the coffee shop, you know?
And meanwhile, his mom is like, yeah, I don't think he's going to give you what you want. And I was like, to me, the biggest red flag is like, if it's some dude's mom, it's like, I don't think so. I'm like, oh, you're trying to sabotage us? I'm going to marry this guy. Like, that's like, no way, man.
This is Reno rules, baby.
You know what? I'm not only going to marry him, I'm going to get pregnant tonight.
Immediately.
I'm in your life forever, bitch. I'm going to call you mom. Forget it.
I've already got your name tattooed on my arm, lady.
Oh, it's so healthy.
I'm gonna kill her. Anyways, yeah. She's
there was one moment that really it was the moment where I was like, I'm maybe done here. And it was during the flight, they have to give him an ID so that he can get around on the ship. So they get this fake ID made and it's her boyfriend's name, Calvin Riggins. And so, of course, there's a lot of like, misunderstandings over who he really is, and Calvin Riggins is this like genius.
Right.
On terraforming, and everyone on the ship is like, we've got Calvin Riggins on the ship, he's a genius. And so they ask him to do a presentation. He says no. They're at a presentation, in Cameron Esposito,
Yes.
who is a very funny stand-up comic,
Yes.
and I felt very sorry for her.
Yep.
Having to say this line, she's like
Oh,
introducing
so
the guest lecturer and says, well, the guest lecturer came down with space madness and can't be here, but we've got Calvin Riggins. And everyone's like, yay, Calvin Riggins. And they bring him up on stage, and she's like, you got to do this presentation. Just do the presentation. He's like, well, okay, I'll fumble my way through it. And as she steps off the stage, she goes, and don't worry if you get an erection.
Oh, God.
And I was like, wait, what?
Wait, no, what are you
what?
talking about? That was like what he says. Like, that's why they said earlier that the reason he couldn't give the presentation is because he had a really bad experience.
But these people are not 13 years old. They're in their 20s. Like, that's the thing that drove me nuts about the humor in this film. Is like if you're gonna sit there and go, like, don't punch down. Don't be like, look, if we're talking about terraforming, if we're talking about algae that eat trash, if we're putting all these people in their freaking 20s, and this is going to be like, okay, he had an erection at one point. No. If we're really gonna up the stakes, I know that was the joke. The joke was like, oh no, he can't do it because one time he had an erection when he gave his
during a presentation. Which, by the way, is very funny.
It's my point being,
I have a keynote presentation for you, Tara.
Oh,
Gross.
God. I'm never
Gross.
going to a presentation again ever in my whole life.
But you know the part that drove me nuts about that moment, Dave? It was the laziest writing I have ever seen in one of those moments. Because it is one of those moments where the lead does not know what he's supposed to be talking about. So what he ends up doing is taking the subject and deftly molding it to fit the situation so we can speak directly to the romantic lead.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's like,
Yes.
terraforming is important because what it does is it builds a connection between the earth. Like, if he had said something like that, it would have been, I don't know, like, not better. That was not well written. But at least it would have been on topic and on brand. He literally goes, terraforming, huh? Mars is cool. And you know what else is cool? My love for you. Like, that was the extent. And everyone, and at no point did anyone call bullshit. No one called bullshit.
Well, that brings me to my maybe final point, is that the whole movie, I was waiting for Walt's Waltness to save the day.
Right.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
never does.
Never does.
Like, maybe, I don't know, he figures out how to make a cappuccino that saves the guy from Space Madness so that he settles. There was nothing that, like, his particular flaws were turned into advantages.
Well, the way I think they tried to do that was the way he stays on Mars, by the way, they ship him up there, and instead of arresting him and sending him home, Zach Braff goes, dude, we taped you trying to get on, and everybody fucking loves you on social media. So you're basically going to be like the social media star of Mars. And, like, that was his way, I guess, of turning the fault that is Walt
I guess so.
into the success. But it wasn't good.
The Walt fault.
The Walt fault. Yeah.
But also, Walt signed away. Like, Zach Braff is like, hey, we could, like, this could be your job. It's like, you're kind of our, like, dummy that represents the, like, but you're our, and he basically says, you're our everyman. And Walt's like, where do I sign?
Well,
and
he's
so,
an
like,
idiot. Of course he's going to do that.
Well, I guess so. But I think what it is Walt never does it. It's done to him. You know, because
Sure.
Zach
That's a
Braff
good
gets the
point.
footage
That's a good
and
point.
leaks it so that he can manipulate the situation.
Right.
It's never Walt going, I'm a doofus, but I know how to do X.
Right.
And that is what you need.
Right.
I
Last,
just shrugged.
Yeah, I know we're wrapping up, so I just want to bring up one last point before we do. Just so everyone's aware, Mars doesn't have trash. They send trash back to Earth.
Back to Earth.
So the movie ends, but it's also like a ship that people can ride if need be. So at the end of the movie, the Sophie character decides to take that ship back to Earth, and Walt follows her. And they have like this big romantic kiss on a ship that they both admittedly says smells like garbage. So I'm just imagining 35 days of garbage sex. But then,
Oh, God.
but then then
You are
like
such a romantic.
thanks. And then as the final shot that they do is they show the exterior of the ship and it flies up into frame and keeps going.
Mhm.
It goes by a window where the
Mhm.
two of them are kissing.
Mhm.
And you're like, "Aw," and then it keeps going and you see the cat's there
Yep.
and the cat's like waving at the window
Yep.
because
Yep.
the cat is trash
How
and
dare
Mars
you?
recognizes
How dare
it.
you? How dare you? God damn it!
I love how that
dare
came
you?
back
How
around
dare you, Adam?
to insulting
I'm so
Tara.
mad.
That was amazing.
You know
that
what
you
makes
just
me
did
mad is Adam's thought about that. Adam's thought about that. He held on to it.
that. That was one of his 3 notes.
It's 3
One
notes.
of his 3
That was
notes.
the last note.
God damn it.
Trash
Well, with
cat.
that, should we rate this thing?
I think that's a
Yes.
great idea.
Okay, we have a 3-tiered rating scale here at Cinema Craptaculous. The top tier, Cinema Craptaculous, this is a must-watch. The second tier, Craptaculous, totally watchable on a Sunday afternoon. And the third tier, utter crap, hard pass. I'll go first. Here's the thing. I didn't exactly love it. I didn't exactly hate it. It did move quickly. It somehow had a pacing to it. I enjoyed Zach Braff. I enjoyed the special effects. I enjoyed some moments. So I would say if you are hungover on a Sunday afternoon, put it on and pass the time.
Really?
Yeah, I'll give it a craptaculous.
Okay.
Okay. I'll go next. So right now, Mandy and I are watching Midnight Mass. Which if you haven't seen Midnight Mass, everybody, see Midnight Mass. It's a horror show on Netflix, which is absolutely outstanding, dealing with the church and addiction and some really interesting things. So to go from that to this was a very interesting transition for me, and that might have, because it's a super analytical show, maybe I'm overanalyzing Midnight Mass, which is why maybe I'm harsher on this movie than I need to be. Because honestly, this movie is fine. I'm almost 40. Maybe I'm a little too jaded for this type of thing, but I think the movie in itself is fine. Plot holes aside, lack of chemistry between the leads aside, it's
Yeah,
fine.
that hurts it.
I think, honestly, if there was better chemistry between the leads, I think this would have been a fine Cinema Craptaculous. But there's no chemistry between the leads, which is why I'm giving it just a straight up Craptaculous.
Hold on. You're not over 40 yet? I just
Nope.
want to clarify. Okay.
No,
all
sorry,
right.
we're
Oh,
not all
God.
where you're at. We're not all where you're at.
Me and James McAvoy are the same age. It's fine. Okay.
I'm not going to talk about my age then.
No.
That's a good idea. It's a solid choice,
It's all
Dave.
right. It's a solid choice. Here's what I'm going to say. It is absolutely craptaculous without question. However, I'm a hair's breadth away from giving it a cinema craptaculous, because here's what I'll say. It's a craptaculous for most people listening, for anybody's watching. However, if you are, much like many people after the pandemic, feeling a little emotionally vulnerable, looking for just like maybe a modicum of just like thoughtless, like silly, like almost love, just like, and some actual dialogue that hits in the right spots, this is a cinema craptaculous. So I know that's a split, but when I have to say, when I watched this movie, I loved it. I was captivated. And again, I may be emotionally vulnerable right now and very tired, but I really enjoyed it.
But that's fine. That's a fine reason to give it a Cinema Craptaculous rating. I completely hear you, and I think it's a justified rating.
Just know his hair is weird. So that's it. That's what I have to say.
Yeah.
His hair is
That's
really
hard
weird.
to get over.
It's weird.
It is really hard to get over. But in a way, this is what movies are to do.
Yes.
They take you out of your own self-loathing for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And make you smile.
And if that's
Now,
what
I
this
don't know
did,
why this one makes you smile, Tara, but Tara.
here's what I'll say, guys. We have watched some attempts at movies while on this podcast that have utterly fallen on their face, failed. Like they have attempted to make X and they made cucumbers. Like it just. This movie set out to make X and it made R. Like, it just didn't get there. But, like, it was doing what it tried to do. And like Tara said, if it gives you the feels at the right time, emotionally, then cool, you win. Like, it's an escapist movie, so why not?
You win Cinema Craptaculous.
What?
You win.
You win Cinema Craptaculous. We're done.
That's it.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, thanks for joining us on this B-Side Cinema Craptaculous journey. This is Dave, and ever present with me are
Tara.
And Adam.
And remember, don't avoid that streaming pile of crap on the internet. Jump on in, because you never know what you just might find, even if it has no chemistry and it's garbage.
Maybe they'll make a sequel about the trash kitty. Like, maybe the trash kitty will find love on Earth.
Of course it will. It's a cat. It's an amazing cat who is trained and very lovable looking and adorable. Adam, your heart is made of coal.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean,
Good point.
Yeah, you got me there. Point for Tara.
Tara's winning the whole day.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of this win, but it's a win.
Thanks again for joining us on our Cinema Craptaculous Presents B-Sides Journey. Subscribe to Cinema Craptaculous on iTunes or Spotify. And if you weren't totally offended, or even if you were, please rate us on iTunes. It helps us get the Craptaculous word out there. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @Craptaculous.